Joined now by former Secretary of State for Defence, Dr. Liam Fox. Dr. Fox, thank you very much for joining us. What's your view on Germany finally making this decision after so much heart searching it seemed that they were doing at the Bundestag?
Well, I think it's a good decision, and I think that it shows that the international community is not willing to see the rules-based system of international law being trashed by Putin without making a substantive response. I think that we have to, however, remember that it's not just the quantity of the armaments we might supply to Ukraine, but the timing. We know that Russia is moving on to a full war footing. They will be increasing the capacity to produce weapons of their own. Therefore, it's essential that Ukraine makes gains on the battleground before that happens, and that means speeding up the supply of weaponry, not just tanks, as you mentioned correctly, but also other elements such as air defense, artillery, and longer range missiles, which they require to repulse the attack, the brutal attack by Putin on their territory.
The Kremlin has said that this is a blatant provocation. How should that be regarded by Ukraine and its allies?
It should be disregarded because how dare they say it's a provocation? They have invaded Ukraine. They've committed war crimes. They are daily murdering innocent civilians in Ukraine. They are cutting off power. And of course, Putin has made it very clear that he wants to eliminate Ukraine as a sovereign state. Anyone who is in as awful a moral position as that has no rights to threaten or lecture anyone.
How much of a logistical headache, though, does it create for Ukraine that they're getting this mixed bag of tanks of different types from different places?
I think that there's something of a problem, particularly with the American Abrams tanks, which are more difficult to maintain. I think they'll be looking to get more of the Leopard tanks because I think that they will be easier for them, that there's a greater commonality with a range of different European allies on that. And I think they'll want to see that number pushed up. And I think the significance in the German move is not just the numbers that Germany is providing itself, but the fact that it's lifting the export ban for other countries. So you may see countries like Poland, like Finland, like Spain contributing greater numbers, which is what Ukraine will be looking for.
Already President Zelensky has said, thank you for what you're sending, but it isn't going to be enough. I mean, how much more can the UK and other Ukrainian allies really give?
I think he'd probably be looking at a force of something around 100 tanks to have the sort of effect he's looking for. He's asking for 300, but in his position, so would I. And I think that as well as the numbers, it's the speed at which they're delivered. They need to be able to get some progress on the battlefield, as I said, as soon as possible, because there's no doubt the Russians will be strengthening, and they need to make a breakthrough on that battlefield before the Russians are able to provide greater armaments for their side. So there's an element of time in it as well as the capabilities themselves.
I mean, you oversaw significant budget cuts to the Ministry of Defence during your time as Secretary of Defence. How much can the UK keep giving realistically without exposing itself to being in short supply of hardware that it might need for its own ends?
Well, the Ministry of Defence has been assuring us that it is restocking at an adequate level to ensure that the help we give to Ukraine doesn't weaken our own capabilities. But the war in Ukraine is not just about Ukraine. It's about the international order. Russia wants to smash the international order to the point where might is right and it doesn't have to obey international law. We can't afford that to happen. So the Ukrainians' war is, in effect, from the terms of our values and our security, the war of all countries who believe in international law and the international order. It's essential that we prevail.
Dr. Liam Fox, former Secretary of State for Defence, thank you very much for talking to us.
Pleasure, thank you.